Our first day in Seoul, and honestly, we had no idea just how much we were going to see. From wandering through some of the most beautiful traditional streets we've ever seen, to exploring a palace, eating at one of Seoul's famous markets, climbing what felt like a million stairs to end Seoul Tower, and finishing the day surrounded by neon lights and street food in Myeongdong. This was our first proper day in Seoul, and these were our very first impressions of South Korea. And there was one thing we didn't realise about Bukchon before we arrived, which meant we couldn't actually explore all of it on our first visit. So our first stop was Bukchon Hanok village, and this was probably one of those places I was most excited to see. Bukchon is famous for its traditional Korean houses known as Hanok. Wow, that is seriously nice house. And as soon as you start walking away from the main street and into the smaller lanes, you really start to see what makes this place so special. There's a main street running through the area with a church, independent shops, cafes and restaurants. But then you have all these tiny streets branching off in different directions. And I absolutely loved the details. The brickwork, the patterns on the buildings, the wooden beam, the traditional tiled roofs. Every time we turned a corner there seemed to be another house or another little street that I wanted to photograph. When we first arrived, some parts were incredibly quiet, while other areas were absolutely packed. But there is something really important to know if you're planning a visit. Bukchon isn't just a tourist attraction, it's a real residential neighbourhood and people actually live there. Because of the huge number of visitors, restrictions have been introduced in some of the streets to protect residents from noise and disruption. We actually visited on a Sunday, and unfortunately that meant we couldn't explore the red zone on our first visit. The red zone is the very centre of the Bukchon village, and tourist access is restricted from 5 p.m. until 10 a.m. During the permitted hours, tourists can visit between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. There are also orange and yellow zones where different restrictions and monitoring apply, and the fine for entering the restricted red zone during the closed hours can be 100,000 Korean won. So although we couldn't walk through every part of Bukchon on this particular day, we came back another day, and I'm going to show you some of the footage here because honestly, you don't want to miss these streets. But I do think it's really important when visiting places like this to remember that this isn't a theme park. It's someone's home. So if you visit, don't block entrances, don't enter private areas and respect the residents. On our second visit, after wandering around, we found somewhere to stop and drink, Bukchon Observatory. And this turned out to be a really good place to take a break because you get this incredible view across the village. You can see how the traditional rooftops fit together across the neighbourhood. So we sat down, had a drink, and just took a moment to appreciate the view. And this was actually becoming a bit of a theme for us in Seoul. Coffee explore, and honestly, I wasn't complaining. Next, we headed to Gyeongbokgung Palace, and this place is absolutely huge. Gyeongbokgung was built in 1395 during the Joseon dynasty and was the main royal palace for the Joseon kings. The name Gyeongbokgung roughly translates to Palace Greatly Blessed by Heaven. It was the largest of the 5 grand palaces built during the Joseon period and was the heart of the royal life for hundreds of years. So we have just come to the Gyeongbokgung Palace, and it cost us about £1.50 each to enter. So far, wow, the colours are absolutely beautiful. The blossoms are out, so we can't wait to explore. And walking around the grounds, you can really appreciate the scale of it. There are enormous courtyards, colourful traditional buildings, beautiful gates, and these amazing tiled roofs. So if you wear the traditional hanbok clothing, which you can rent from one of the shops around, you get in free, or you can pay the £1.50 like we did. The buildings are absolutely beautiful. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. I love the brickwork over here as well. One of the highlights was seeing all the blossom trees around the palace. They made an already beautiful palace look even more incredible. So we really did enjoy the palace. It did get quite busy towards the end, but we got there at 9 o'clock and it wasn't too busy. But the palace is actually quite a big place, so you can find lots of spaces where you can take your own photos and just enjoy the palace itself. And of course, it was time for another coffee. We stopped at Lee Rim Coffee and Bakery near Gyeongbokgung. It's a really interesting little cafe, and there's an upstairs terrace where you can sit outside and get a little view of the surrounding area and mountains. We also tried some of the salt bread pastry, which was really good. And then completely randomly we spotted these. Look at the size of these strawberries. I genuinely don't think I've ever seen strawberries this big before, so obviously we had to buy them. And yes, they were as good as they looked. Next stop, Gwangjang Market. And this was one of the places I was really looking forward to. If you want to experience the energy of Seoul, this is definitely somewhere to put on your list. There is so much going on. Food stalls, restaurants, market sellers, people eating, people shopping, and there's just this incredible atmosphere. We actually stopped for a coffee here, and I have to say I absolutely loved the whole experience. So we're just at Gwangjang Market and we're at a little coffee shop called Ilho Korean Coffee Roasting. The barista here is a Korean roasting competition champion and has even placed third in the World Roasting Championship. So you've got this really high level specialty coffee being made right in the middle of an incredibly traditional, bustling market. Wow, this looks amazing. This is my Gwangjang coffee. Oh, that is really good. It's like really sweet, really smooth. Yeah, that's really, really good. I love that. We decided to eat lunch at a restaurant we found in the market. The food was excellent. We enjoyed a mung bean pancake, tteokbokki, beef tartare bibimbap, as well as kimchi and pickled onions and cabbage, and this all came to 26,000 Korean won. We couldn't leave without trying hotteok. It's basically a Korean sweet pancake, and this one we had was filled with sweet mixture that made the perfect little dessert. They can come with a savoury filling, but this one came with a sweet nutty mix of brown sugar, ground cinnamon and finely chopped walnuts. And when cooked in the pan, this dry mixture melts into a rich molten syrup centre, and it was delicious. Out of all the markets we visited during our trip, Gwangjang was definitely one of my favourites. If you're visiting Seoul, I would highly recommend coming here, grabbing something to eat or drink and just sitting down and taking everything in. After all that food, we needed a walk, so we headed towards Cheonggyecheon Stream. This is a man-made stream running right through the centre of Seoul. It's really beautiful down here, I love it. But what's really interesting is that it wasn't always like this. For decades, this area was covered by roads and elevated infrastructure. Then, as part of a major urban restoration project, the road was removed and the stream was restored and transformed into this public space. And now you can walk alongside the water, right in the middle of one of the busiest cities in the world. I really like the contrast. You're surrounded by huge modern buildings, traffic and people, but down here it suddenly feels much calmer. And so nice for the people of Seoul to be able to enjoy a little bit of nature so close to the city. And after our walk, naturally, we needed another coffee. One thing we noticed very quickly in Seoul was just how good the cafe culture is. There are cafes absolutely everywhere, and so many of them are really beautifully designed. We also found ordering surprisingly easy. A lot of cafes and restaurants have self-ordering machines, so even though there was sometimes a language barrier for us, we didn't really find it a problem. In some restaurants, you can even order directly from the machine or tablet at your table. So if you're worried about visiting Seoul because you don't speak Korean, that definitely wasn't something that caused us any major problems. And now it was time for the most strenuous part of the day. We were heading up to Seoul Tower. Before we even got to the track for the Seoul Tower, you walk through some really interesting streets before you start the climb. So we're going to make our way to the Seoul Tower. We're walking down a lot of the streets here. It's a Sunday, there's loads closed, but it's still like really cool to look at. All the signs are so different to what we've seen before, and yeah, the streets are just look really amazing. And then we reached the start of the track. There were these beautiful blossom trees lining the route, and then we started climbing. And when I say stairs, there's a lot of stairs. At this point, I was questioning all of my life choices. Wow. You see a sneak peek preview through the trees. The staircase takes you through the trees, and every now and then you get a little glimpse of Seoul through the branches. But honestly, the best part might actually be before you even reach the tower. Wow, you made it. Once you get towards the top, there's an amazing viewpoint overlooking Seoul. And the best thing is, it's completely free. The downside, everybody else knows that too. It was really busy when we went. From here you can continue up to Seoul Tower, which is one of Seoul's most recognisable landmarks. And if walking up all those stairs isn't your idea of a holiday, there is another option. You can take the Namsam cable car up the mountain instead. We didn't do this, but I'm glad we didn't, as even though the walk had a lot of steps, we did really enjoy walking up to the viewpoint that way. So after we had enjoyed the view and caught our breath at the top, we decided to go into the tower. We managed to get a seat by the window, ordered a drink, and just sat there looking out over Seoul. Trees down there, blossom trees. And the view is incredible up here. We really enjoyed this visit, and I would highly recommend it if you're coming to Seoul. We do also visit another viewpoint during our trip to Seoul, and this will be in my next video. And I would say this viewpoint was better than the Seoul Tower. So if you want to know what that is, subscribe to see the next video. But I do want to say we did really enjoy it up there. The views are incredible, but it just did get a little bit busy towards sunset, and it felt hard to get a space near the window during this time. But if you want to experience going to the loo with a view, this is your place, as each cubicle has a massive window looking out to the incredible views. Our day wasn't over yet. We headed to Myeongdong, and if Bukchon felt like old Seoul, Myeongdong felt like the complete opposite. Bright lights, huge branded shops, cosmetic stores, restaurants, street food, and people everywhere. We wandered around the night market, checking out the food stalls and just taking in the atmosphere. I really enjoyed it, but if I had to choose between Myeongdong and Gwangjang Market, Gwangjang wins for me. Myeongdong is much more about the shopping, bright lights and modern Seoul, whereas Gwangjang felt more traditional and had that amazing market atmosphere. And that was our first proper day in Seoul. And honestly, I think Seoul surprised us. In just one day, we went from traditional hanok houses to a centuries-old palace to one of the city's most famous food markets, walked alongside a restored stream, climbed a mountain, looked out over the entire city, and finished underneath the neon lights of Myeongdong. And this was only day one. There is so much more of Seoul that we haven't seen yet. So if you've enjoyed coming along with us, make sure you subscribe, because we've got plenty more of South Korea coming. If you've been to Seoul, let us know in the comments what was your favourite part. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.